Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. I'm your host Orange Zeppelin, and let me tell you, I am jolly. I am festive, and that is because it is the 12 days of ComiXmas. That's right, for the next 12 days I will be releasing a festive holiday themed video centering around comics in some capacity, and this year I'm doing it for good. Previously, I did it for evil. That's not true. But this year, I am joining with Fallout for Hope to fundraise for the St. Jude Children Research Hospital, which, when I was writing this script, we were already at like $24,000 in donations. And I want to see that doubled, tripled even. So if you look down at the description, you can find my Tiltify link, and that is an easy donation link where all the money is going to go straight to the cause. And there's also a very special goodie in it for you under a $5 donation option. But first I need to lay the ground rules for the series. Coziness is mandatory. Sweaters are heavily encouraged. I have on my nice festive Iron Maiden sweater. Put some wool socks on. I have plenty. Gotta get all your favorite plushies out. You want to get yourself a nice warm beverage? I'm going to be having some coffee. If your hands aren't shaking, you haven't had enough. And for today's episode, we are going to need our crowns, because the first thing we're looking at in this series is a coloring book. And what a coloring book it is. We're looking at Spider-Man's Christmas, a supersized coloring book from 1984. I found this on the Andertoon's cartoon blog, which has the whole thing shared in a PDF for anyone to download. I'm going to link the blog below so that you can see it for yourself and read the commentary. This coloring book takes the approach of having a cohesive story laid out rather than just being an assortment of holiday-themed pictures. The problem is that some of the story is Peter Parker went to work today, and Peter Parker is going to the store, and Peter Parker can't stop thinking about the Green Goblin's dummy thick booty. Also, toys apostrophe, it's in the possessive form rather than the plural. Who is Toy, and are these his possessions? Is he in a puddle of piss? What is going on? It takes a good while before Spider-Man Christmas coloring book actually delivers us any Spider-Man. Eventually, we get to the main plot point of the story, which is that the Green Goblin owns the orphanage, and he's going to freeze the orphans to death in order to distract Spider-Man from the army of festive goblin robots. I love the festive goblin robots. Who are going to steal everyone's new PlayStation 5, and then he's going to scalp them all on eBay. I didn't scroll down all the way on this page, and I thought that the Green Goblin was teabagging Batman. But anyway, Spider-Man stops the Green Goblin and Christmas is saved. Don't worry about how it all happens. It's not very exciting. This page here kind of fits more of what I was imagining the coloring book would be. In fact, this coloring book, it's kind of the opposite of my complaint about the Yu-Gi-Oh! Coloring book that I just recently did a video on, where there's a lot of characters just standing there, but there's no real scenes. And this coloring book has a lot of scenes, but they're not super fun to color. But that doesn't mean we aren't going to color. Okay, I've got a couple of pictures printed out on somewhat thick paper. Let's make some beautiful art. Ignore the white splotch on my fingernail. I think I had just accidentally stuck my finger into an acrylic paint palette that wasn't fully dry. I've worked some magic to speed up this process here. Otherwise, this would be a long-ass video. I apologize for any jittery camera work here. I'm still trying to figure out how to get my camera stand to frickin' hold still. I suspect that when I rearranged my room recently, I didn't reassemble my desk just right, because it's had a little more of a shake than before. But since we are doing a coloring book, it's like a law or something that we need to start with crowns. Now, the issue with crowns is that they need a little bit of tooth on the paper to grip onto, basically. As much as I don't really like the newsprint that a lot of coloring books use, it has enough tooth to actually pick up the wax of the crown. And this paper is very, very smooth, which is why you're going to see me have to press pretty hard with these crowns, and on several occasions you'll see me straight up Hulk smash them on accident. Some are clearly broken in the middle. I picked this image because it's a good action shot, one of the few really good action shots in the book where Spider-Man is front and center. And in this shot, we can also have fun with the lighting. I wanted to have the light coming from behind Spider-Man, which is a lighting style I don't use very often. I wanted to practice a bit on that. I don't think I'm very great at lighting in general. And so I tried to give him a yellowish glow around his edges. With crowns, you can blend colors to a certain degree. This is the one place where a white crown actually is useful. In the case of coloring Spider-Man's suit, I actually used a pink crown to blend in the reds. In the past, I've attempted to use paint thinner to blend crowns, and I don't remember if it actually worked. Maybe it was mineral oil. I've heard some people suggest that for colored pencils, you can blend them with mineral oil, but I think it might have just made the paper slippery. What's kind of funny is I wasn't huge on coloring books as a kid. As a concept, I liked them, but as a kid, I rather would do my own drawings, and I usually lost interest in coloring other people's line art. Now I think they can actually be really, really useful as coloring practice, and I actually really like using kids' coloring books since in my art I'm usually focusing on characters and scenes. And also, with a kids' coloring book, you have the freedom to corrupt them, and that's always funny. But as an artist, I always want to get a little bit better, and coloring books can be pretty useful for testing new techniques and experimenting in a way that doesn't feel serious. You aren't stressing out about the idea of messing up your nice line art with bad coloring if you're coloring SpongeBob. Alright, for this next piece, I'm going to go a lot more elaborate with the Green Goblin. This is a great Green Goblin. I love the extreme close-up, and I knew as soon as I saw it that I was going to want to color it in. I really, really like doing portraits, and I wanted this to turn out similar to a piece I did recently of my Skyrim character. We're going to be tackling this with a combination of media. I'm starting out with markers, which are one of my favorite things to work with. You can work very fast and a lot of layers with a lot of different colors. You can create some really impressive effects. And you could also color very simple, very clean. Markers just work well for a lot of different styles. So I did find as soon as I started that the marker I used for my base layer was running out. And I could have gone and snagged maybe an Ohuhu marker of a similar shade, but I was on a roll. I love Copics the most, but Ohuhu is a brand that is slowly winning me over. They might have actually been better here, as Ohuhu markers, they're more flowy than Copics, and this paper wasn't perfect for markers. The flowiness might have actually helped. Also, my Copics are, for the most part, pretty old. I might have just had one that's running low. This paper would be pretty great, I think, for paint or heavy ink work, provided you have it taped down so it doesn't buckle. Speaking of tape, the washi tape on the sides is so I can make a solid border around the image, and you'll see what I do later in the episode. But if you watched the Yu-Gi-Oh! Coloring book video that I mentioned earlier, you might already be filled with dread as something bad happened with the washi tape pull on the Celtic Guardian. It's going to happen again. But for now, we're going to just pretend it isn't going to happen, and we're going to continue on with that great green skin tone. Also, now is a good time to talk more about my Tiltify donation link for St. Jude's down in the video description, and the perks you get for donating, because planning this episode inspired me to do something extra. So you could donate as little as $1 to the cause, but I have a special treat available for download with a $5 donation. And that is the official 12 Days of ComiXmas coloring book. That's right. Why would you want to color in Peter Parker pissing his pants in this lame coloring book when you could color in Spider-Man trying to buy eggnog in mine? As that is the illustration for today's episode. I picked Dr. Octopus as the antagonist because I just thought he looked a little more prepared to steal eggnog. his gimmick lended itself well to the crime. So there are 12 illustration pages, and there's some activity pages in there, one for every episode in this video series, and they are all themed off the subject of the episode, like, for the most part. So it'll be a wildly broad assortment of themes. And I'm not going to share too much because I don't want to spoil anything. Also, to be perfectly honest, at the point that I was recording this, I still needed to draw like half the coloring book, but we're going to pretend that's not the case. I made it a digital download so you can either print it out or you can color it in digitally. I considered offering a print edition, but I want you to have the freedom to pick whatever paper you want. You won't have to worry about your media bleeding through to the next side, and I'm glad I made that choice because my printer crapped out on me the other day. And I actually couldn't even scan for a bit until Santa brought me a new print head, which is so dumb. A defective print head shouldn't keep me from scanning anything, but that is how printers work. They were designed by supervillains. If you do end up coloring anything in the coloring book, please send it to me or tag me in a post because I would love to see what you do with it. Also, feel free to corrupt it at will. I did deliberately leave a few things blank or open-ended so you can go in with a pen and then draw something yourself, because I always enjoy doing that. I like when coloring books give you kind of open-ended things. Oh, here's the tape pull. Okay, so that wasn't catastrophic, but don't worry, it gets worse on the other side. So the background was painted in gouache, which is why I did the tape blocking in the first place. I was under some delusion that the tape would pull cleanly off of this paper, which in most places it actually did, and I was able to get a pretty crisp border. But then I got stuck. Very stuck. And the paper came with me. Now this is the exact same washi tape that I had issues with in my Yu-Gi-Oh video, so maybe this one's officially retired from blocking duties. I'm gonna be going back to drafting tape instead. But if you ignore that disaster, this turned out pretty cool. I would have liked to spend a little bit more time on it, get a little more detail, but overall, I think this was pretty fun and a good start to this series. So I hope that you all enjoyed this episode. Let me know if you end up downloading my coloring book. Please check out the links below, and I'll see you all in tomorrow's episode.